Good morning. It is Friday morning and Sunday, I am running the Battersea Park half marathon in London. I'm using this race as a bit of a tester for the Chicago Marathon, see how I feel, see what pace I can run at, and just really to see how the first few weeks of training has gone. I felt like it's been pretty good, and this is always a nice little test, a half marathon, just to see where the fitness is at. My PB is 1:24:48. Ideally, want to try and break that. It would be nice to get under 1:24, but difficult to know exactly where I'm at. The 1:24:48 was pretty fast for me. I think back in February I set that. Also, it was a lot colder of a day. On Sunday it's going to be warm, not particularly sunny, but warm. So you never know, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good course, nice and flat apparently, although I've never been to Battersea before. It's just 8 laps basically of the same park, which is an absolute dream for me because, as you will know if you're a regular watcher of this channel, I love running laps around the same park. So that suits me right down to the ground. I'm heading down to Milton Keynes tomorrow because I have some family stuff going on there, and then I'm going to go down to London on Sunday morning. I'm going to take you with me. Probably won't really film anything between now and the race morning. I'm going to do a shakeout run tomorrow morning, about 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes, but that'll be kind of boring to film. So yeah, I'll see you again on Sunday morning. Right then, Battersea Park half. We're here. No need to think about what I did in the bathroom. Sorry, in the bushes. But yeah, 1:23 we're going for. 1:23 something. So that is Battersea Park half done. To recap the race, it was a really nice course is what I'll say first and foremost. There was 0 meters of elevation gain, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I've ever ran a race where that's been the case, but yeah, super flat. The other thing to say is the weather conditions were actually pretty nice. I was a bit worried about it coming in because it's obviously the middle of summer, but it was quite overcast, quite grey, rained a little bit. It was maybe around 20 degrees, a bit more, but that was manageable. It didn't feel too warm, especially because it wasn't sunny. My plan was basically just go out at 4 minute per kilometre pace, hold that for the first 16, and then just see how I feel. I like to break it into 8 kilometers, 4 kilometers, 1 kilometer, the half marathon, although the first 2 8 kilometers in general principle are basically the same. So set out and executed that plan really well. The first 16k split was bang on 4 minutes per kilometer, fluctuated up and down. You know, there was some kilometers in there that were 4:02 and some that were 3:58, but on average I stayed around that level. Then for the last 5k, I thought, let's see how much I can pick it up by. And in my head, I just thought anywhere between 350, 355 per kilometre. Let's see if I can do that. I think I averaged 354 per kilometre for the last 5 kilometres. Obviously ended up with 1:24:03, and I said before the race, ideally I wanted 1:23 something, so that 3 seconds killed me. But what I'll say about that is I genuinely don't think I could have put any more effort into that at all. Like, that 3 seconds was just out of my control. The reason for that is at about 17k maybe, I started to feel my hamstring a bit, and initially it just felt a bit tight, like a bit sore, just a bit of muscle fatigue maybe, but it gradually got worse and worse as the kilometers wore on. And as I was approaching the last kilometer and a half, it really started to get sore, and to the point where it was probably affecting my form. I wasn't able to stride as far with it because it was quite sore at that point. And as I was coming up to the final straight, I realized I'm only a few seconds out from doing sub 124, and I tried to kick on, and that's when it really sort of went. And I say went, it didn't like pop or anything, it just suddenly I got a sharp pang of pain, and I started hobbling basically for maybe the last 80 meters. And if you go and look back at the video of me crossing the line, you could see that I was hobbling there. So yeah, it was quite sore. Initially I wasn't sure if it was just cramp, but I started to think it probably wasn't, because it didn't really dissipate. It still felt pretty sore even after the race. So to be honest, I was a bit worried after the race that I had done some pretty serious damage to it, or something bad that was going to keep me out for a bit of time. And it's currently Wednesday, so I rested Monday and Tuesday. I did try and go out for a little jog this morning, but actually it's still a bit sore. It's not as bad. So on Sunday I couldn't really walk without pain, whereas today, Wednesday, as I say, I feel fine when I'm walking. I can't feel it at all, except maybe when I'm going downhill or downstairs a little bit, because that sort of engages your hamstring a bit more. But yeah, went out for a run this morning, or tried to, and got about 3 minutes into it. The pain was like a 6 out of 10, so it wasn't like really sore, it was just too uncomfortable. And I thought, let's not risk injuring myself further or inhibiting the recovery of this. I can probably afford to have a week off of running in between a marathon training block's not the end of the world. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I may see how I feel on Friday, but yeah, not going to put too much pressure on it. I'm not too worried about it because it is getting better. As I say, it's, you know, I couldn't walk properly without pain on Sunday. Now I can, but still maybe a bit too soon to be running. And like I said, I don't want to regress the recovery any further. So that's probably the only downer from the entire race. And that's kind of annoying really, because I do actually think I would have been able to do sub 124 had it not been for the hamstring, but it's not the end of the world. Still a 45-second PB, which I'm really happy with. Ultimately, I'll come back and I'll break 124 at some point in the future, and ultimately that will then seem like a really insignificant milestone a couple years into the future, hopefully when I'm doing like 120 or 119 or something like that. So it's always about the next thing and the next goal. And, you know, realistically, I think when you don't necessarily hit the goal that you want to achieve there and then, when you're a younger age, and I say, you know, young 24 I am, you know that you've got quite a few years left of PBing and improving and getting better, obviously knock on wood, but that's why I don't really get too worried when I don't hit like an ambitious target that I set myself. Like for instance with sub 3, when I didn't get it in Manchester and Edinburgh, it's like, okay, cool, well, I'll just get it another time. It's not a problem. The race itself, really well organised, really well put together, and I definitely would go back to Battersea to do another race in the future. Would highly recommend. So yeah, great place for a PB, great place for interval sessions. Can see why people do them there all the time, and a good day out overall really. That is the last race I'm doing before Chicago in October. We are now, I think, 12 weeks away, or just under 12 weeks away from Chicago. As I say, a bit of a blip in the training block right now with the hamstring problem, but I'm not super worried about it. I'm going to assess it day by day. Hopefully I'll be able to get stuck back into the training from next week. And if I can't, again, not the end of the world. I'm not a professional athlete. It doesn't really matter. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you didn't, then please leave a dislike. That'd be great. Drop a subscribe, drop a comment. I'm going to continue to document the journey that I am going on to a sub 3, hopefully in Chicago, but you never know. But this is the best place to catch it all. I'm also on TikTok, Instagram, so go and have a look at my socials. The links are in the description. Thanks very much if you watched this far. Appreciate it. Have a good one. See you next time.